The war against the calculators, the logic lords of the Cygnus Rift, wasn't lost because we lacked firepower. It was lost because we lacked surprise. To the logic lords, the universe was not a place of mystery, it was a solved equation. They possessed quantum oracle arrays, massive supercomputers that could simulate every possible outcome of a battle 10 minutes before the first shot was even fired. When our fleets jumped into their space, they didn't find an army waiting. They found the exact spot where our ships would be, already saturated with pre-calculated fire. Our smart missiles were intercepted by point defense systems that fired at empty space, only for our missiles to fly directly into the beams. Our best generals, men of logic and strategy, were dismantled like children playing chess against a god. The logic lords viewed humanity as deterministic prey, a collection of patterns that could be mapped, anticipated, and erased with the boredom of a mathematician crossing out a zero. They thought that because we were intelligent, we were predictable. They assumed that because we valued strategy, we were bound by it. They believed that the perfect move always won. They were catastrophically wrong. They forgot that the foundation of the universe isn't geometry, it's entropy. They forgot that the only thing a computer can't predict is a choice that makes no sense. If the logic lords wanted to fight a war of probability, we decided to give them a variable they couldn't calculate: pure, unadulterated chaos. We created the Dice Brain Protocol. And we birthed the 7th Randomness Battalion, the Chaos Gamblers. We don't use tactical overlays. We don't have mission plans. We wear entropy rigs, neuromechanical shunts linked to a decaying radioactive isotope core. The rig doesn't enhance our thinking, it bypasses it. Every microsecond, the core releases a random pulse of data that dictates the movement of our muscles. We don't decide to dodge left or swing right. The rig twitches our arm in a 47-degree arc, or makes us drop to one knee for no reason, or fires our weapon at a ceiling tile. We move with the erratic, nonsensical violence of a glitch in reality. We are the only soldiers in the galaxy who don't know what we're doing until we've already done it. We are the Chaos Gamblers, and we are about to break the equation. I am Sergeant Elias Snake Eyes Thorne. My entropy rig is currently humming at a 99% randomness output, and my brain is a passenger in a body that's dancing to the rhythm of a dying atom. And I'm about to make the logic lords fail their final exam. The mission was the terminal breach of the Oracle Spire, the central nervous system of the logic lords' predictive network. The spire was protected by a null logic field that paralyzed anyone who tried to think their way through it. Rigs to hot standby. Disconnect the conscious mind. Trust the decay. I roared into the link. My own voice felt distant, like a radio playing in another room. Gambler 2 Sarah, rig engaged. I just bit my own tongue because the shunt told me to. I'm ready to roll the dice, Elias. Gambler 3 Jax, no response. His rig had already started a rhythmic, nonsensical tapping of his helmet against a bulkhead. We breached the spire's primary gate. Immediately, the calculated guard emerged. They were terrifying, geometric entities, perfectly symmetrical beings of white light and cold metal. They didn't fire, they positioned. They stood in the exact places needed to intercept us. They raised their certainty lances, weapons that fired beams of light aimed not at where we were, but at where we must go to avoid the previous shot. The logic lord at the head of the guard paused. Its fractal eyes flickered. It had already run the simulation of our entrance. It knew exactly how we would move. Then my entropy rig twitched. I didn't roll. I didn't duck. My left leg suddenly snapped upward, kicking a decorative crystal off a pedestal. My right arm swung in a wild overhead circle, firing my chaos pistol at a floor vent. The logic lord shifted its lance to intercept my calculated dodge. But I wasn't dodging. The kick had altered my center of gravity in a way that defied every kinetic model in the alien's database. The beam of light missed my head by a fraction of an inch, striking the wall behind me. Before the alien could recalibrate, my rig forced me into a violent, spasming lunge. I didn't aim for the alien's chest. I aimed for its left knee, then mid-swing, my arm jerked toward its throat. Karachik. My fracture blade, a jagged piece of unstable steel, buried itself in the logic lord's neck joint. The alien didn't bleed, it leaked white light and error codes. It looked at me with a confusion that was almost beautiful. It couldn't understand why I had moved in a way that was statistically impossible. The equation is broken. Keep moving. Don't think. The hallway became a blur of nonsensical action. Sarah was moving like a broken marionette, her entropy maul swinging in circles that hit 3 guards at once, not because she was a master of the weapon, but because the guards were trying to dodge logical attacks that never came. Jax was crawling on the ceiling, firing his weapon behind his back, the rounds ricocheting off the crystalline walls to strike the logic lords in their sensory nodes. We were the glitch. We were the static on their perfect monitors. The logic lords began to panic. Their oracle spire was flooding with uncalculable data. The predictive algorithms were crashing. I could see the fractal walls of the spire flickering, the geometric perfection being replaced by jagged, chaotic shadows. We reached the core predictor, a massive, rotating sphere of liquid mercury and light that simulated the future of the galaxy. It was surrounded by a dozen arch calculators, the highest caste of the logic lords. They didn't fight with weapons. They fought with probability waves. They projected fields of reality where our deaths were 99% certain. The air around us began to heavy with the weight of inevitability. I could see ghosts of my own death, myself being vaporized, myself being crushed, myself being erased. Snake Eyes, the probability is too high. The rig can't find a path. Sarah screamed, her body beginning to translucent as the logic lords tried to calculate her out of existence. The rig isn't looking for a path. It's looking for the dice. I reached into my chaos pouch and pulled out an entropy grenade. It was a device that contained a fragment of a collapsed star and a high-frequency randomness oscillator. The arch calculators raised their hands. They were focusing the probability. In their simulation, I was about to throw the grenade at the core. They moved their shields to block the trajectory. But the entropy rig knew better. Or rather, it knew nothing. As I prepared to throw, my arm went limp. My fingers opened, and the grenade fell to the floor at my feet. The logic lords froze. This wasn't in the simulation. Why would the predator drop its weapon? My rig then forced me to kick the grenade, not at the core but at Sarah. Sarah, acting on her own rig's impulse, swatted the grenade away with her maul, sending it spinning toward a structural pillar. Jax, mid-seizure, caught the grenade with his foot and flicked it toward the ceiling. The grenade hit the ceiling, bounced off a light fixture, and fell directly into the exhaust port of the core predictor. The arch calculators let out a collective digital shriek. They had simulated 10 million throws. They had never simulated a three-man game of chaotic hot potato. Boom. The explosion wasn't fire. It was a wave collapse. The entropy grenade released a sphere of pure randomness that struck the liquid mercury core. The quantum oracle didn't just break, it underwent a total logical inversion. The future, it was simulating, shattered into a billion contradictory pieces. The spire's fractals turned into jagged, irregular shards. The arch calculators, whose very existence was tied to the order of the equation, began to dissolve as their personal probability fields collapsed into chaos. The certainty was gone. Across the Cygnus Rift, the logic lords' fleet stalled. Without their predictive computers to tell them where to be and how to move, they were just fragile, slow-moving statues in the dark. The human fleets, free from the oracle's gaze, descended upon them with the fury of a species that thrives on the unknown. I stood in the center of the shattered sanctum, my entropy rig finally powering down as the isotope core exhausted itself. My muscles were twitching, my brain was a foggy mess of adrenaline and confusion, and my left arm was stuck in an awkward raised position, but the world was real. It wasn't a simulation. It wasn't a predestined path. It was just a messy, unpredictable, beautiful moment. Sarah. Jax. Report. I rasped, my conscious mind finally reclaiming the controls. I'm here, Snake Eyes. I think I have a permanent tick in my eye, but I'm alive. The spire is dead. Still kicking. I don't remember the last 10 minutes, but I'm covered in blue light and I feel like a winner. I looked up at the shattered ceiling. The stars were back. They weren't points on a map or data entries in a computer. They were just fire in the dark. Humanity has proven the ultimate truth of the galactic dominion. You can calculate the movement of the planets. You can map the energy of the suns. You can try to solve the equation of our lives. But we are the species that knows how to play the hand we're dealt, and we're the ones who will always bet on the glitch. We are the chaos gamblers. And you can't predict a heart that beats to its own rhythm. The core is shattered. The equation is erased. The future is unwritten. The mission is over. Now, someone get me a drink, and don't you dare tell me what's in it. I want to be surprised.